everyone, this is Karen Fomafung, your Agile Evangelist. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about responding to a question I've been getting a lot from some of our YouTube community members. So people have been inboxing me and asking me, so what exactly does a Scrum Master do all day? I would really like to understand what a day in the life of a Scrum Master looks like. Someone even said, you know, I've read all the books, I've read all the Scrum Guide, I get the theory, all right? But how does a day of a Scrum Master really looks like practically, in practical terms? So there is even one of the characteristics of Scrum that states, Scrum is easy to understand, but difficult to master. That means it takes a lot of continuous, practical, intentional effort to be really successful with Scrum. So today I am going to do my best to walk you through my entire day as a Scrum Master as I facilitate, plan, and carry out other Scrum Master responsibilities, all in an effort to continuously develop a well-formed and highly performing team. So if this is your first time here, please kindly go ahead and click the subscription button down below, turn on the notification bell so that you will always stay on top of every new upload. Also go ahead and like, share with your friends, drop your comment down below so that we all can continue to learn and grow together as this one big happy Agile family. Thank you so much. Now, this information I'm about to share with you right now is based on two assumptions. Number one is that you have at least read the Scrum Guide and you have a basic understanding of the Scrum framework. That's when you really appreciate this content. And then the second assumption is based on the fact that everything is virtual. So those are the two assumptions. So now let us go into our topic. So what does a typical day of a Scrum Master looks like? Now I've been thinking, where exactly should I start? So I've decided to pick on Wednesday, assuming it's the first day of our 2-week sprint iteration. Now, this is what happens on my Wednesday, the day of the sprint planning. I always make sure that I connect at least 1 hour earlier than the rest of the team, just so that I have enough time to prepare physically and psychologically, clean up, get everything ready to start the sprint planning. You know, the very first thing I do is that I quickly create and prioritize my to-do list, just so that I don't get caught up during the day and miss out on important tasks. That's the first thing I do. And then once that is done, I also make sure that at least 15 minutes before the planning time, I connect to our communication portal. In my case is WebEx. We use WebEx for our meetings and so many other communications. So I will connect at least 15 minutes earlier, just to be sure that my technology is running smoothly and I will not be caught up with technological issues. So I make sure that I am ready, set up for the sprint planning. So now at 9 o'clock, all the team members are connected. Now we have to start our sprint planning. So what exactly happened? What's the role that I played during the sprint planning? Once everyone arrives and planning starts at 9 a.m., at this point, I become the planning facilitator. So what I do is I pull up my Jira board. So in our case, we use the Jira board as our project tool. So do a quick recap of what our meeting is all about, the purpose for the meeting, and what we are trying to achieve at the end of the meeting. So I would say something like this: welcome everyone. So today is our sprint 2.1 planning. So what we are trying to achieve is by the end of the sprint, we want to have ready stories to be worked on for the next 2 weeks. Then once everyone is ready, I will go to the capacity board. That's the first thing I do, just to double check to make sure that the capacity is accurate, that everyone's capacity is accurate. Once I am sure that everyone's capacity is accurate, I will now go to the backlog. I will pull up our story backlog then assuming as well that the backlog is prioritized and ranked accordingly. So I'm now going to start with the first user story and calling them out by their story IDs. So for example, I would say, I'll pull up the first story. I would say story number 0021. So immediately I call out the story, the team members already understand what they are supposed to do. They have to just go ahead and start having conversations around that story. So we have something that we call the definition of ready. So once this conversation is going on, I have my list of definition of ready that I am going by. So I have this checklist that I am going by. So once the team members have continue to have this conversation, if the story needs to be broken down further, if the story have to be clarified, more details has to happen. So these are the kind of conversation they have, and I'm going by my checklist. So once they think the story is ready to go into the backlog, I will now go ahead and confirm with them by going. So what I go by is my checklist. I would look at my checklist and I'll confirm with them. So do you think the story is ready to go into the backlog? So we all have a common understanding of what our definition of ready is. And they'll all confirm, yes, it is ready to go into the backlog. So now I will pull that story into the backlog, and then I move on to the next story. And then I do the same thing. I'll just move on to the next story, say story number 0022. So I'll say story number 0022. I'll call it out. And then they'll immediately start the discussion around that story. And that's the same thing we do until we think that we are ready for that sprint. So how do we know that we are ready for that sprint? Whatever stories that we are pulling into our backlog, we are also measuring it by our available capacity, because our available capacity is fixed. So we are pulling the work that is equal, almost equal to the available capacity. Sometimes we might leave at about 10% or 15% buffer just for unknowns. So what's the purpose of our definition of ready? Our definition of ready, it serves as a guide that will keep us in check to make sure that all the stories that we are pulling into the sprint will deliver value to the business and to the customer at the end of the sprint. So now when we determine that our sprint backlog is ready to be worked on, we are also taking into consideration the sprint goal. We are making sure that all the stories that we've put into the sprint backlog will be able to meet the sprint goal at the end of the sprint. So now you see, that's how we know that we are ready for the sprint. Now there is also one important aspect that I make sure I always double check. So once everyone confirms that, yeah, this workload that we've put into the sprint is ready for the sprint, I will still go ahead and double check with every team member just to confirm that everyone has enough to do during the sprint, just so that some people are not left with all of the work and other people are just not doing enough. That's not going to be fair. So I will just go one after the other by team member and confirm with them. So for example, let's say Joshua. I would say, Joshua, do you think you have enough for the sprint? Are you covered for the entire sprint? He would look and he'll be like, oh, for now, I think I am good for the first 2 days, but I will go ahead and, help the others with whatever he would name them. And, so I am trusting them. Again, you have to trust your team. You have to trust your team that they know best. So I am trusting them to be honest enough to share with the entire team that they have enough work that will cover them for the entire sprint. So these are the kind of cultures that we try to really encourage in our team. So that's what I always make sure I check, just to be sure that some people are not doing all the work and then some people are just not doing enough. Yeah, so once we say, okay, we are ready for the sprint, we've confirmed that our sprint backlog is well loaded based on our available capacity and based on the sprint's goal. Now we lock the sprint backlog and we are ready to go. Now, once that is done, the next thing that I do with my team is to conduct a quick stand-up for the day, just to make sure that everyone has a shared understanding of what each team member will be doing on that day. And again, it's also an opportunity for us to double check and make sure that we don't have any impediments that will be stopping us from achieving our plan for the day and our sprint goal. Now, I will go ahead and conduct a 15-minute stand-up. So now, during this stand-up, our goal is to answer these 3 questions. What did you accomplish yesterday? What do you plan to accomplish today? And do you have any impediments? So we all already have a shared understanding on how we should be having this conversation, because I've already, trained them and mentored them, directed them on what is expected during our daily stand-up. So now my team is already aware. So I really don't need to start asking them, so Ben, what did you accomplish yesterday? What do you plan to accomplish today? So I'm just only going to call his name out. I'm just going to be like, Ben, can you please go ahead and start? So Ben already knows what he will be saying. So he will be like, yesterday I accomplished this, but mind you, today is a new sprint. So there will be no need for Ben to be talking about what he accomplished yesterday, because we've already moved past the sprints of yesterday, the previous sprints that ended yesterday. So now we are talking about a new sprint today. So the part of what did you accomplish yesterday will be left out because we've already trashed that. But if it was an ordinary day, or let's say it was the next day after the sprint planning, he will be talking about what he accomplished yesterday, what he plans to accomplish today, and if he has any impediments. So those are the 3 areas that we are touching. So once Ben provide his information, and he will mention if he has any impediment or not. At that point, I'm also double checking with him. So do you have any parking lot, or if he's if he starts getting deep into his explanation of what he accomplished and things like that, or if he's sounding like there is maybe a blocker somewhere or an impediment, okay, I'm going to go ahead and direct him, just to be respectful of everyone's time, since the stand-up is just supposed to be for 15 minutes. So I am going ahead now to redirect him, and I'll be like, okay, Ben, please, let's take this to the parking lot, just to be respectful of everyone's time. No. So he'll be like, okay, no problem. So I'm going to just take a quick note down that, okay, Ben has a parking lot. And then again, I'm going to double check with Ben. So Ben, is your parking lot for the entire team, or it's just for some individuals? Just to make sure that I'm not keeping everyone on the parking lot, and just wasting their valuable time for nothing. So Ben can go ahead and tell me, well, it's not for everyone. I think I only need Mary and Mike. I'll be like, okay, so I'm going to jot Mary and Mike's name down, just the same way. So I'll do that for everybody. And once we are done, and I will now go ahead and give everyone the opportunity to sign off if the parking lot doesn't really concerns them directly, or if they are not interested in what's supposed to be discussed during the parking lot item. So I'll now give everyone to go ahead to sign off. Now everyone signs off, and then now we are in a parking lot. Again, I am still the facilitator of that parking lot. So I'll go now ahead and facilitate the parking lot, and people will now continue their conversation on the issues. And now during these meetings, including the planning, the stand-up, parking lot, or whatever meeting, my point of focus is I am staying alert to capture impediments. I am staying alert to have a sense of the atmosphere, whether people feel comfortable, whether people feel stressed, whether people feel excited and motivated, whether my team members are happy and ready to go. Those are the things that I try to sense. Those are the things that I try to smell. That is, I am smelling behavior, I am smelling impediments, because again, those are the things that will affect our sprint outcome. So if anything is going against the standard Scrum practice or Scrum values, my role now is to capture these things, and during the day, I am making sure I am fixing them. So as we progress, I'll give you some specific examples. Now, during our parking lot, everyone have their conversation, and we are good to go. We close, and everyone disperse and go and start executing their task for the day. Now, what do I do for the rest of my day? So let's say we started our planning at 9 o'clock. and then we ended at 11 o'clock, including the stand-up and the parking lot. We ended at 11 o'clock. Then now, based on my schedule and my to-do list, I have a meeting at 1 o'clock that's scheduled with the PO. That meeting I call the Backlog Management and Organization meeting. So this meeting is scheduled every Wednesday. I did the scheduling. So I had a conversation with the PO because I realized that the PO was not in sync with the expectation for us to succeed as a Scrum team. That is that there were times when he would not really, he would miss putting all the necessary information in the backlog, or even reprioritizing the backlog before our refinement, and that will really cost us so much time during the refinement, you know. So now what I did was I met with the PO just to get a sense of his gaps and his understanding of the Scrum framework. So at the end of our conversation, we agreed to establish a weekly backlog management and organization meeting where I support the PO to make sure that all the requirements, the feature requirements are in the backlog. That's the first thing. Secondly, I want to make sure that the stories are prioritized. And thirdly, I want to make sure that the stories are ranked. So those are my 3 areas of focus. So at 1 o'clock, my meeting is scheduled for 1 o'clock. So after we disperse from our all the meetings I've just explained above, I will go ahead now and plan for my 1 o'clock meeting. So what exactly am I planning for? I am just, because I always like to, you know, get my thoughts together, put my thoughts together in my head, or even make quick points of discussion on my notepad, just to make sure that I am not missing out on anything when I am having this conversation with my PO, you know. So I go ahead and prepare and make sure that I am set for my 1 o'clock meeting. So during our stand-up meeting, I noticed that one of our team members did not update his Scrum board. And this same team member has been very inconsistent with updating his board, and we have it as a shared understanding based on our team charter that we will always update our board at least 30 minutes before the stand-up time. So I realized that he did not update his board, and he has been very inconsistent with updating his board. That is, some days he will update his board, some days he will do it right during the stand-up meeting, some days he will do it when he's reminded, and other days he would not do it at all. So I noticed that this Wednesday he did not update his board. So again, that's an issue. So I have to figure out a way to understand what's going on and help him, bring him up to speed with the team's expectation of our Scrum board. And again, the reason why we always make sure that our Scrum board is up to date is because we use this information to evaluate our sprints and see how our sprint is going, in order to make adjustments towards meeting our sprint goal. So if the Scrum board is not always up to date, the burn down chart cannot read correctly, you know. So we always want to make sure that we are updating our board every day, so that our burn down chart can always have accurate information, which we can then use to evaluate the health of our sprints and make adjustments towards meeting our sprint goal. So I realized that, and then I called him after the meeting. I asked him if I could quickly have a conversation with him. He said he will be available at 11:30. I said, okay, that's fine. So I quickly scheduled a 30-minute meeting. So immediately after the stand-up was over and I was done preparing for our backlog management and organization meeting that I'm supposed to have with the PO, it was already 11:30 by the time I was done preparing for that meeting. So I quickly connected with my team member for a coaching session, and the goal for that coaching session is to really understand the reasoning behind his inconsistency and his behavior, so that I can know how to help bring him up to speed with the team's expectation of updating Scrum board. So that meeting took approximately 30 minutes, and by the time the meeting was over, it was already 12 o'clock. So at that time I had to take my break. So I usually have 1 hour break from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And then I try to come back, like, let's say 10 minutes before my break is even over, just to make sure that I am settled and ready for my meeting. So now I connect, let's say 5 minutes before the meeting time again, to make sure that my system is working well and nothing is wrong with it. And 1 o'clock now I connect with my PO and we go through the backlog. He is reprioritizing stuff. He is adding more requirements in the backlog based on customers' request, based on the business request. He is adding more stuff into the backlog, reprioritizing them, and what I am watching to make sure that they are ranked, and all the required details, all the details that are required. So the kind of details that I'm watching for is the details that will at least let the developer be able to complete that work, the obvious details, and then the acceptance criteria is in there as well. So those are the things I'm watching out for. So we'll have this meeting it's usually a 1 hour meeting. So at the end of the day, that's our output for that meeting. Now we have a backlog that is ready for refinement. So we have a backlog refinement meeting that happens every Thursday. So that's the purpose for this meeting that I have with the PO every Wednesday. And again, that's the reason why it is scheduled for Wednesday, so that we are getting ready on that Wednesday for our backlog refinement meetings on Thursday. So that's how we function. And then at 2 o'clock, that meeting is over. Immediately after my meeting is over with the PO, remember, I have my list of impediments that I had captured during our morning meetings. And again, during my meeting with the PO, I am also, vigilant to sense if there are any issues on the behavioral aspect, or if there are any impediments. So I am capturing all these things. So immediately after my meeting with the PO, I am coming back on my list of impediments that I had captured. And then I try to start figuring out how to clear these impediments. But one thing I want you to also pay attention and note is that a Scrum Master doesn't just run off and start trying to clear off all impediments. Remember, the goal is to achieve a well-formed, high-performing, and self-managing team. So whatever impediments that we encounter during the sprint, we have to evaluate these impediments, and I have to be able to see if these impediments are the type that the team member can clear up themselves, because again, the goal is to empower them to become self-managed. So if especially if there are internal impediments and they can take care of it, I encourage them to go ahead and take care of it. But if there are impediments that are, let's say, for example, external impediments that will suck up so much of their time that they would spend in doing valuable work, I can now go ahead and take that upon myself to clear them up. But again, the goal is to help your team succeed. Do whatever it takes to empower them to become self-organizing, highly performing, and self-managed. You see, so I will just give 2 examples of the kind of impediments that I will have to work on after my meeting is over with the PO. Okay, let's say, for example, during our stand-up meeting, a team member mentioned that our software license, let's say the software that we use, the license will be expiring in 2 days' time. And then I'll go ahead and ask, okay, so what have you done about it? And he would say, oh, I have reached out to the systems administrator 3 days ago, and he said he will contact Microsoft for this issue to be fixed, but I haven't heard anything back from him. So I would say, okay, have you followed up with him? And then he can now say, well, I followed up with him 2 days ago, but I didn't hear anything back from him. At least he has tried. He has done something about it. And I wouldn't want him to be distracted on this kind of things. Again, he has already tried to do it, but it's an external impediment. At this time, I'll be like, okay, no problem. I will take care of that. And then now I am contacting the systems administrator. Maybe I'll just quickly send, because I am very big at phone conversations, especially now that we're in a virtual world. I really try so much to avoid emails, especially if it's an urgent request, or if it's a conversation that is conflicting, or there is a little bit of confusion, I try so much to always have a conversation, to always hear someone's voice, if possible connect on video call to speak and see the person, because I am very big in different ways of communication aside from verbal communication. So I always like to read people's body language, see their expressions and gestures and things like that, because it's based on all these things that I try to help my team to reach their full potential, So I'll send a quick text to the systems administrator and be like, oh, James, do you have a quick second for a conversation? He'll be like, okay, no problem. So I give him a quick call and I said, okay, so my team member just mentioned that our license will expire in 2 days. And if this happens, everyone is stuck. We will not be able to do anything. We will not be able to produce done increments at the end of the sprint. So what have you done about it? I just want to check on the status. So the systems administrator can say something like this. Well, I have already submitted a ticket to Microsoft, but I haven't heard anything back from them. And right now I have high priority stuff that I'm working on. I'm so swamped right now. I really don't have time to follow up on that. I'll be like, all right, no problem. Can you please give me the ticket number? So he will go ahead and send the ticket number to me. And then now I am reaching out to Microsoft, checking on the status of that ticket. So based on what I saw in there, the ticket hasn't gone anywhere. They have not made any progress on it. This is very critical for us. What am I doing? So the point is I have to go above and beyond to make sure that this impediment is cleared up and we remain on track in meeting our sprint goal. That's my responsibility. So now I am calling the Microsoft hotline immediately and trying to talk to somebody. So I call them and I'm like, okay, so we have this ticket, we've submitted, state the date, the time, everything, that I just want to follow up on the status for this ticket. And that's what I do. And until that impediment is cleared up, and then I tick that I'm good to go. So that's just a typical impediment that a Scrum Master will want to clear off, especially if they are external impediments. But if there are things that a team member can easily clear up without getting so distracted, go ahead and encourage them to do it. A second example of a typical impediment that I have encountered or that I might encounter and I have on my list of impediment would be, so during our parking lot meeting, a team member mentioned that there is a story that we will be working on in the next sprint, in the upcoming sprint, and we need an external reviewer on that story. But right now, we do not have anyone that can be our external, that has agreed to help us with that. So I'll be like, okay, so who do you think might be able to do this for us? Again, I am trusting that they know better, So he will be like, I think Emmanuel can do that. I'll be like, okay. So have you reached out to Emmanuel already? And then he'll be like, well, I reached out to Emmanuel and Emmanuel said he will confirm with his manager and get back to me. But so 3 days ago, he got back to me and he said his manager was hesitating based on scarcity or based on lack of capacity, So I'll be like, all right, no problem. Don't worry about it. I will take care of it. So again, take note, this is an external impediment. Then now, after I am done with clearing up the other impediment, or I am sure that it is in progress, I now move on to this one. I now send a quick text to Emmanuel's manager, and then I'll be like, oh, I really don't want to call the names of my team members and my, I don't want to give that kind of information online here. So all these names that I am using are just, fake names. So I'm just going to send a quick text to Terence, and then I'll be like, Terence, do you have a second for a quick chat? Terence will be like, okay, no problem. Or he'll be like, sure. And then I'll quickly give Terence a video call, because again, this is someone that I need something from. So I have to try to be at my best behavior. I need to be tactical with my words, making sure that I am using words that will, really see our need, and based on the true priority, if we are able to have his team member to help us for review, he will not hesitate to give us that, you see. So I'll just explain the situation to him, really clearly communicate the priority of these of the need for these skills in our upcoming sprints. So once I'm able to clearly communicate that with the manager will then again, we all want the best for the business at the end of the day. So based on the true priority, the manager will now be like, all right, no problem. You can now have, what was the name I used? The reviewer. You can now have the reviewer for the next 2 weeks of your sprints. I'm like, all right, great. Thank you so much. So now this other impediment is cleared, and now we are ready to go. So by the time I'm done clearing up the impediments that I encounter during the day, and my meeting with the PO, after the planning, after the stand-up meeting, I have a one-on-one with my team members manager. So they have their own manager, their own functional manager. So we have a one-on-one that is scheduled for every Wednesday. So I now move now. So that it's about 3 o'clock at this time. It's already 3 o'clock. Yep. At this time. So now we have 30 minutes one-on-one. So I now connect on my one-on-one with the manager. Again, the goal is to, just communicate with her. It's not my manager, my team member's manager. Just communicate with her and let her know if there is anything going on with the work or the team that she might be of help with. No. So what I'm not trying to do is, exposing my team members' downside, unless it is critically affecting our work and we've done everything and it's not working, and whatever information I am sharing with her is for the best for the business and for the team at the end of the day. So that is my goal on whatever information I am sharing with my team members' manager. Now, after the meeting with my team members manager is over, I have another 30 minutes meeting that is scheduled every Wednesday from 3:30 to 4 o'clock with my boss. So the goal for this meeting with my boss is to if I have anything to communicate with him that will help improve my performance, or if anything that's going on that will be of help to the business and to myself, anything I am. So that's the purpose for this meeting. So we just connect to make sure that we all are on the same page with what's going on. So this meeting happens for 30 minutes every Wednesday. So that is called a one-on-one meeting that happens every Wednesday from 3:30 to 4 o'clock. So after this meeting is over, it's already 4 o'clock, and at this point my day is almost over. So what I do for the remaining 30 minutes is I have to sit down, just rethink about what has happened during my entire day. If there are any lessons learned, if there are any points that I need to capture, or if there are any points that I notice for retrospective, I am quickly dropping them on my retrospective, because I am very big with making quick notes. Because if things happen and I don't proactively act on them, I can easily forget. So just to make sure I'm not forgetting any important point, I am capturing all this information. If I notice anything that might have a potential to be discussed during the retrospective, I am going ahead to drop that on our retrospective template. If there is anything that I think might be discussed during our sprint review, I am going ahead to drop that on our sprint review template, just to make sure that I can now, when those meetings are approaching, I can just go back there and develop my points from the things that I have captured. So these are the things that I usually do for the remaining 30 minutes to 1 hour to the end of my day. And then the very last thing I do before I sign out for the day is I have to make a quick summary report of the recap of my day. So that's the understanding of leadership. So the leadership team, so we have our own community, our own team as the leadership team, where everyone make a quick recap of their accomplishment during the day, and if they really had any roadblocks as well, any challenges, so you just make a quick report and you share it with the leadership team. So for the remaining 30 minutes, that's what I do. That's what I do. So I quickly summarize my report for the day and I share it with my leadership team. So I hope I have tried my best to summarize as much as I can on how my day typically looks like as a Scrum Master. Again, if you know that you haven't subscribed, please go ahead, click the subscription button, the notification bell, because we will be sharing a lot of important information here. Trust me, the things that other Scrum Masters or coaches will not tell you, will not be very open with you. That's why I am here. That's why I am connecting with you, because these are the things that I will be giving you. Because, I really struggled before I got to this point, and I want to be able to really help people so that they mustn't struggle the same way I struggled to get to where I am right now, So I am just trying to do this to help you jump over some potholes, and get to your destination as an agile leader. So you have to go ahead, click your subscription button, the notification bell, so that you will not be missing out on any critical information we will be sharing on this platform. In our next video, I will be giving you a summary of what my entire sprints looks like, what I do for the entire sprints to make sure that I am engineering the sprints and we make sure that we are staying on track on meeting our sprint goal and our sprint commitment and moving towards becoming a well-formed, self-managed and self-organizing, highly performing team. Thank you so much, as we will be ending here right now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope to talk to you soon. Bye.